I have just bought a Bugatti Veyron with a small issue. I'll be honest, a Bugatti was never on my dream car list. So I've got a Veyron here and it's got a faulty fuel pump control module.
Matt Armstrong just bought a Bugatti Veyron. Within minutes, he found a broken gearbox and a price tag that should make anyone's stomach drop.
I bought this repossessed Bugatti Veyron with supposedly a broken gearbox.
But that's not the part that shocked him. Hidden inside this $2 million hypercar, Matt found a part number, a small stamp most owners would never even notice. He traced it back, and what he found didn't make sense. That number belonged to a Volkswagen Lupo, a car that sells for a fraction of the price. So what else is hiding inside this legendary machine? What else has Bugatti never wanted its owners to know? Stay with us. Let's dive into the evidence and uncover the truth. A $3 surprise. Matt Armstrong didn't plan on becoming a detective. He just wanted a car. When a repossession company called him about a Bugatti Veyron, he knew the risk. Most repossessed supercars come with a long list of problems, and this one was no different. He paid far below the normal price and took the keys anyway, knowing the gamble could go either way. The Bugatti Veyron is not an ordinary car. Volkswagen built it to be the fastest, most complex road car in the world. A 16-cylinder engine, 4 turbochargers.
This is Bugatti's new 8.3-litre V16 engine.
Over 1,000 horsepower sent to all 4 wheels. Only 450 were ever made, and the last one rolled off the line in 2015. Owning one puts a person in one of the smallest clubs on the planet. Matt's Veyron looked almost perfect on the outside. The paint was clean. The leather seats barely showed wear. When he turned the key, the engine roared to life on the first try. For a moment, it felt like he had found the deal of a lifetime. That first sound, 16 cylinders firing together inside a quiet workshop, is the kind of moment most car owners only dream about. For a few seconds, none of the risk seemed to matter. The gamble looked like it had paid off. Then he tried to drive it. Nothing happened. The gearbox refused to move into any gear at all. The car just sat there, stuck, as if something deep inside had locked up completely. He called the dealership. They sent a quote for the gearbox repair. The number on that quote was not a typo. It read $350,000 for one part on one car. Most owners would have stopped right there. A bill that size costs more than many houses. Plenty of people in that position simply hand the car back, sell it for parts, or walk away and never think about it again. Matt didn't walk away. He opened the car up himself. He checked wires, tested circuits, and followed the electrical system one connection at a time, like someone trying to solve a puzzle nobody else wanted to touch. What he found changed everything. The gearbox wasn't actually broken. A single fuse had blown. One small plastic part, the kind sold in any hardware store. He held it up next to the gearbox quote and said it plainly. This $3 part was the only thing standing between him and a bill big enough to buy a small house. $350,000. For a part anyone can buy for less than a cup of coffee. There's something almost funny about the whole situation. A car built by some of the most skilled engineers in the world had been stopped cold by a part that costs less than a cup of coffee. It wasn't a design flaw. It wasn't bad engineering. It was simply a small failure that nobody bothered to check before sending out a quote worth more than most people's entire savings. For Matt, this wasn't just about saving money. It was about proving a point. A $2 million car shouldn't be treated like a mystery box that only one company is allowed to open. If a fuse could cause this much confusion, it meant the entire repair process needed a second look. That moment raised a bigger question. If a company can miss something this simple, what else might be hiding inside this car? What other parts, what other secrets, had never been properly explained to the people who actually own these machines? Matt wasn't finished. He still had a misfire to chase, coolant leaking onto the workshop floor, and warning lights that kept appearing without warning. The fuse fix was only the beginning. What came next would challenge everything people believe about what makes a supercar worth millions of dollars. But to understand how deep this story goes, you need to know what happened when Matt asked Bugatti for help, and the answer he got back. The company says no. Once the gearbox was moving again, Matt still had work to do. The misfire kept jumping between cylinders. Coolant was leaking from the front of the car. The fuse box had more problems hiding inside it. A full Veyron has 16 cylinders.
This is a V16 and it's almost got 2 notes going at the same time, so it's quite bassy.
And chasing a fault through all of them is not a quick job. So Matt did what any reasonable owner would do. He called Bugatti directly and asked to buy the parts he needed. Filters, seals, fluids. The basic things required to service the car properly. Bugatti said no. Not a soft no either. A clear, deliberate no that told Matt everything about how the company actually operates. Bugatti explained that they would not sell parts to anyone outside their own approved service network. If Matt wanted his Veyron fixed, the car would have to travel to their facility and be worked on only by their own technicians. Think about what that really means. You can own the car outright. You can hold the title in your name. But you cannot buy the parts to fix it yourself. You cannot take it to an independent mechanic, no matter how skilled they are. Your only choice is to hand the keys over and accept whatever price Bugatti decides to charge. For most Veyron owners, that arrangement never becomes a problem. Most people who can afford a $2 million car can also afford whatever bill the dealership sends. They don't ask questions. They don't open the hood themselves. They simply pay and move on. That's exactly how a closed system like this survives for so long. It doesn't need every owner to question it. It only needs most owners to stay quiet. As long as the bills keep getting paid without complaint, there's no real pressure on the company to ever explain its pricing. Matt Armstrong is not most people. He runs a workshop, he has a camera, and he had just proven, with a $3 fuse, that the company's pricing didn't always match reality. So when Bugatti refused to help him, Matt said something that would end up defining this entire story. He decided that if the official channel wouldn't give him what he needed, he would find another way to get it. If that meant sourcing parts himself, tracing them back to their original manufacturers, and proving exactly what they were worth, then that was exactly what he planned to do. This wasn't just stubbornness. It was the start of an investigation that would expose something far bigger than one broken gearbox. Because once Matt started looking closely at the parts inside his car, he began noticing something strange. Numbers stamped on components that looked oddly familiar, codes that matched parts from cars that cost a fraction of the price. It made him wonder how many other owners had paid full price without ever questioning where their parts actually came from. How many people had handed over tens of thousands of dollars simply because nobody had ever shown them an alternative. Trust, in this industry, had been built on the assumption that nobody would ever look closely enough to check. Bugatti had built a wall around their cars, a system designed to keep owners locked into one expensive path. But walls built on secrecy only stay standing as long as nobody looks too closely. And Matt Armstrong was about to look very, very closely. What he found next would not just fix his car. It would raise hard questions about an entire industry built on the idea that exclusivity justifies almost any price tag, building what they wouldn't give him. Before Matt uncovered the biggest secret of this whole story, something else happened that says a lot about how he thinks. The Bugatti Veyron has a feature most owners never use: 'The Bugatti Veyron has a feature most owners never use: 'The Bugatti Veyron has a feature most owners never use: 'The Bugatti Veyron has a feature most owners never use: 'The Bugatti Veyron has a feature most owners never use: 'The Bugatti Veyron has a feature most owners never use: 'The Bugatti Veyron has a feature most owners never use: 'The Bugatti Veyron has a feature most owners never use: 'The Bugatti Veyron has a feature most owners never use: 'The Bugatti Veyron has a feature most owners never use: 'The Bugatti Veyron has a feature most owners never use: 'The Bugatti Veyron has a feature most owners never use: 'The Bugatti Veyron has a feature most owners never use: 'The Bugatti Veyron has a feature most owners never use: 'The Bugatti Veyron has a feature most owners never use:
The reason they wouldn't sell us parts for the Bugatti Chiron is because they believe that it was unsafe to do so.
It's called top speed mode. To unlock it, the car needs a special second key, one that lowers the body, changes the way air moves around it, and allows the engine to reach its full 253 mph limit. Without this key, the car simply will not let the driver go that fast. Matt's Veyron didn't come with one, and buying a replacement directly from Bugatti meant paying a steep, exclusive price for what looked like a simple piece of metal. Instead of paying it, Matt decided to understand how the key actually worked. What he found surprised him. Underneath all the mystery around it, the speed key wasn't some secret piece of advanced technology. It worked using a fairly ordinary mechanical design, the kind a skilled locksmith could understand and reproduce. So that's exactly what he did. He worked with a locksmith and built his own version of the key. A YouTuber, working out of a regular workshop, recreated a part for one of the rarest cars on Earth, because the official system gave him no other choice. It wasn't a smooth process. Even with the new key working, the car kept finding new ways to cause trouble. A blown fuse killed the indicators. The same engine misfire kept returning. A tire pressure sensor threatened to block the top speed system from turning on at all. Each time Matt solved one problem, another one appeared. Working through these smaller faults took patience most people don't have. There was no manual written for a homemade speed key fitted to a rebuilt Veyron. Every fix came from testing, watching how the car responded, and adjusting from there. It was slow, it was frustrating, and it was working. He pushed forward anyway. Eventually, he drove the car more than 150 miles toward a runway, ready to finally test what the Veyron could really do. For most of that drive, the car ran clean. No major issues. After everything it had put him through, it almost felt like a small victory. This part of the story matters because it shows the pattern that would repeat again and again. Every time Bugatti's system told Matt no, he found another way to say yes. A locked gearbox became a $3 fix. A missing key became a project for a local locksmith. Step by step, Matt was proving that the wall Bugatti built around their cars wasn't as solid as it looked. But none of this, not the fuse, not the key, prepared anyone for what Matt found when he turned his attention to the rest of the car. Because hidden inside the Veyron's most expensive components was a secret that would change how people everywhere look at supercar pricing. The parts they didn't want found. This is where the story turns into something much bigger than one car.
That's the plan. Let's do it. First step, I'm going to figure out how this door card comes off.
Matt needed to give his Veyron a full service. Not a rebuild, just the kind of basic maintenance every car needs eventually. Oil, filters, spark plugs, fluids. For a normal car, this kind of service costs a few $100s at a local garage. Bugatti's official quote for the same job on a Veyron came in between $25,000 and $27,000. Instead of paying that price, Matt started examining the actual parts fitted to his car. He looked closely at the part numbers stamped onto each component. Then he traced where those numbers actually came from. What he found was hard to believe. The accumulator tanks, a key part of the gearbox system, carried the exact same part number as the ones used in a Volkswagen Lupo, a small city car that sells second-hand for the price of a weekend trip. Bugatti charged over $600 for each one. The Volkswagen version cost a small fraction of that. The 16 spark plugs feeding the engine turned out to be standard plugs made by NGK, the kind found in everyday cars around the world. Bugatti's price was around $57 per plug. The same exact plug, bought directly, cost a small fraction of that price. The ignition coils matched parts used in a Volkswagen Phaeton and a Bentley Continental, standard components from the same manufacturing group. Bugatti's price per coil was more than $200. Multiplied across all 16 coils, the official bill reached into the thousands, before labor was even added. The gearbox pump, the part connected to the original fault, traced back to an Audi A6. The official Audi part cost a fraction of what Bugatti charged for what was functionally the same component. Even the fluid used to refill the gearbox system followed the same pattern. A small bottle from Bugatti's official channels cost close to $200. The same fluid, bought through a standard automotive supplier, cost a tiny fraction of that price. None of these parts were modified or upgraded in any way to justify the difference. They were the exact same components, just sold under a different name. Piece by piece, Matt rebuilt his entire understanding of what he was paying for. He wasn't buying parts engineered exclusively for a $2 million hypercar. He was buying everyday components from ordinary cars, repackaged under a different name and sold at a massive markup. He didn't stop at finding the parts. He bought them directly from the original manufacturers, checked the numbers twice, and fitted them himself, swapping wiring where needed, and testing each system as he went. Some parts matched perfectly the first time. Others took a bit of trial and error to get exactly right. But every part worked the same way it would in the cheaper car it came from, because it was the same part. When all the parts were sourced and the service was finished, Matt's total bill came to just over $1,000. Compare that to Bugatti's official quote of $25,000 or more for the same job. He had saved well over 90%, simply by refusing to accept that every part inside the car had to be as exclusive as the badge on the front. And this story isn't only about one car or one owner. Every major supercar maker uses some version of the same closed system. Approved dealers only. Parts that can't be bought independently. Warranty threats designed to keep owners from looking too closely at what's really under the surface. Most owners never check, because most owners don't have a workshop, a camera
from the dead, rebuild it, enjoy rebuilding it, learn from it as well, whilst you guys are all enjoying,
and the patience to trace every part number by hand. Other rebuilders have run into the exact same walls. A different owner attempting his own Veyron restoration faced almost identical resistance, the same refusal to sell parts, the same silence from the manufacturer. The pattern isn't an accident. It's a system, built deliberately to keep every dollar of repair money inside one closed network. Matt did look closely, and once people saw what he found, it became impossible to look at the supercar industry the same way again. When the car fought back, to understand just how difficult Matt's work really was, it helps to understand the engine he was dealing with. The Veyron's W16 engine is essentially two V8 engines joined together, with 4 turbochargers feeding them, sending over 1,000 horsepower to all 4 wheels. It is one of the most complex engines ever placed in a road car. Diagnosing a single misfire on an engine like this is nothing like working on a normal car. The systems are layered, sensitive, and built to hide problems rather than reveal them clearly. Instead of using simple sensors like most engines, the Veyron reads each cylinder's performance through advanced ion sensing technology, watching the combustion itself rather than just the crankshaft position. It's an impressive system on paper. In practice, it makes tracking down a single misfire across 16 cylinders an enormous task, even for someone with years of experience. The misfire Matt chased throughout this entire process kept moving between cylinders, refusing to settle into one clear answer. He swapped coils and spark plugs between different sides of the engine, slowly narrowing down where the real problem was hiding. It looked like progress. It looked like the misfire was finally clearing. Then, just when everything seemed to be working, the car pushed back one more time. After driving over 150 miles toward the runway, with the new speed key working and the engine finally running clean, the Veyron suddenly lost power. Warning lights filled the dashboard. The engine began shutting down without warning, miles from home. This is the moment most people would have given up. Matt had already fixed the gearbox for the price of a fuse. He had built his own key. He had serviced the entire car for a fraction of the official cost. And the car was still finding new ways to break down. He didn't quit. He and his team went straight back into diagnosis mode, tracing the fault toward the fuel pump control system, checking wiring, checking modules, refusing to let one more setback end the story here. There's a lesson in that moment that goes beyond cars. Every step of this rebuild had already proven that the official story, the one that says only Bugatti can touch this car, wasn't entirely true. But the breakdown was a reminder that the car was still genuinely difficult. None of this had been easy. None of it had been luck. It had been hours of testing, checking, and refusing to accept the first answer as the final one. To be fair to Bugatti, not every part of their argument is wrong. A car built to travel at 253 miles an hour does need extremely precise engineering in certain areas. Suspension geometry, aerodynamic calibration, tire pressure systems built for those speeds. Getting those details wrong at that speed isn't just expensive, it's dangerous. Bugatti has a real point when it comes to components like these. But spark plugs are spark plugs. Accumulator tanks built to standard specifications don't change their function because of which badge sits on the hood. The safety argument explains the price of some components. It does not explain why an everyday part, made for an everyday car, costs 10 times more once it carries the Bugatti name. As of now, Matt's Veyron rebuild is still ongoing. There are warning lights left to chase, faults still being traced, and a real top-speed run still waiting to happen. But what he has already proven cannot be undone. A $3 fuse replaced a $350,000 quote.
Managed to solve the problem with just a tiny fuse, and that fuse was for the hydraulic gearbox pump.
A locksmith built a key Bugatti wanted to sell at a premium, and a service that should have cost $25,000 was finished for close to $1,000. Whatever happens with that fuel pump fault, the bigger story has already been told. People who watch this rebuild now ask different questions when they look at a luxury car price tag. They want to know what's actually inside, not just what name is printed on the box. That shift in thinking might end up mattering more than any single repair Matt ever makes. Matt Armstrong didn't set out to challenge an entire industry. He just wanted to fix his car. But what he uncovered along the way is something supercar owners everywhere are still talking about. Matt Armstrong's story isn't really about one broken gearbox or one expensive fuse. It's about what happens when someone refuses to accept a price just because a company says so. A $3 part, a homemade key, a service bill that dropped by over 90%. Each discovery chipped away at a system built on secrecy. His Bugatti Veyron is still not finished. More faults are waiting. More answers are coming. But one thing is already clear. The badge on a car may explain its value, but it doesn't always explain its price. If this story changed how you see supercars, hit subscribe so you don't miss what Matt finds next. Drop a comment and tell us what surprised you the most. And share this with someone who needs to hear it. We'll see you in the next one.